Hello everyone, welcome to another video. So in today's video, I want to talk about AWS EC2 AutoScaling groups. Okay, so I'm going to show you a demo with step-by-step instruction on how to create the AutoScaling group. Okay, but before that, I want to cover some theory around it. I want to make you understand in what circumstances or situation you're going to use an AutoScaling group. All right, so let's start. So suppose you have created one EC2 instance in your AWS account and you have installed an application on it. Okay. And the application and the EC2 instance has been configured in such a way that at a time, only two users can connect to the application without any issues. Okay. Without any performance issues. So this is how the application and the EC2 instance has been configured. Now suppose there are two more users who wants to access this application. Okay, so now the number of users has increased from 2 to 4, and we know that this instance and the application can only handle two users at a time. So if these two users will try to access the application on this instance, they're going to have some performance issues for sure, right? So in this case, what you can do manually, you can create another EC2 instance, right? You can create another EC2 instance and then redirect the users to access your application on this particular instance. Okay, so one more thing, this instance and this instance are exactly the same in terms of configuration, and even the application also is exactly configured in the same way. Okay, so this is how you can increase your number of instances when the number of users who wants to access the application increases. This is fine. From 2 users to 4 users is fine, right? Now suppose if 6 more users wants to access this same application. Okay, so from 2 to 4, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's create 2 more and 10 users. So now from 2, the number of users increased to 4, and from 4 now we have 10. Okay, so we have 10 users who wants to access the application. So what you have to do is, now once again what you have to do, you have to manually create few more instances, right? Like this. So for 10 users, we will have 5 instances to support the application, right? So if you see here that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create these instances manually. Now, if the number of users decrease by any chance, for example, now suddenly from 10 users, we only need 4 users. We only have 4 users who are trying to access the application. Now in this case, you have to terminate the instances also. You have to delete the number of instances also. Okay. So if you see here, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to manually increase the number of instances or decrease the number of instances depending on the user load or the number of users who are trying to access my application. Okay. So this is still fine if you only have 10 users who are accessing the application. But what about a big production grade application where you have hundreds and thousands of users who are increasing as well and decreasing as well at the same time? For example, from 10,000 to 20,000 in like 5 seconds, and then from 20,000 to 15,000 in the next 5 seconds. So in this way, if you just imagine that there's one production grade application wherein the number of users are increasing and decreasing rapidly. So manually creating these instances or deleting these instances is not the right solution, right? You cannot do it manually all the time. So for this very reason, AWS has its own service called AutoScaling group, where these number of instances can increase or decrease automatically for us without we having to do anything manually if we configure it that way. So that is why we use autoscaling groups. So autoscaling groups is a way by which you can scale out or increase the number of EC2 instances to support the number of users who are trying to connect the application. If the number of users increases, then you can increase the number of instances. If the number of users decreases, then you can decrease the number of users as well. So you can scale out and scale in the number of instances depending on the user load at a time. So this work can be done by autoscaling group, and this is called horizontal scaling because we are creating these more number of instances with the same configuration, right? So if you remember, I just mentioned that this instance has exactly the same configuration as this one, and if you increase the number of instances, it's going to be the same configured. The configuration of all these instances are going to remain the same. So this is how you are doing horizontal scaling of your EC2 instances. Okay. Also, when we create one EC2 instance in an AWS account, the EC2 instance is always created in an availability zone. Okay. So when you increase the number of instances, you can increase high availability to your infrastructure as well, to your application infrastructure, because the second instance can be launched in another availability zone. And similarly, the third instance can be launched in another availability zone, AZ3. So what will happen in this case? Is, if suppose this instance goes down, so you still have two other instances who are running in the other two availability zones. I'm talking about a availability zone failure. For example, this AZ1 fails, for example, for any reason, this entire availability zone goes down. The data center here goes down. Then only this instance is going to get impacted. The other instances which are running in other availability zones, AZ2 and AZ3, are going to work the same way. So in this way, you can decrease your impact radius, you can say. So you can decrease your impact radius. Okay. Because I'm talking about this because this is called horizontal scaling, but you do have other type of scaling as well. That is called vertical scaling. The meaning of that is, for example, you want to, you want the other users also to access your application on the same instance. In that case, what other thing you can do is you can increase the resources on this particular instance. When I say resources, I'm talking about CPU, the memory, the network bandwidth, or the storage. Okay, so you can increase these resources on a particular instance also, so that this same instance can handle other users as well or additional users as well. But in this case, again, you will not achieve high availability, because if this availability zone goes down, then no matter how big your instance was, it is still going to go down. So all your users will be impacted at the same time. So this is not the right way of scaling in all the cases. So there are some cases wherein this type of scaling can work, but mostly in today's world, with all the modern applications where we have these multiple microservices deployed. Okay, so in that case, we generally use horizontal scaling. So auto scaling is also a way of horizontally scaling the number of EC2 instances or the servers. So this is the main concept of auto scaling group, to keep adding or decreasing the number of instances in your infrastructure as the number of users or the user load increases or decreases. Okay, so this is the concept of auto scaling group. So how it will look like? So instead of you creating these instances manually or decreasing, what will you do? You are going to create one auto scaling group. Okay, that auto scaling group will have a certain configuration like the desired capacity. The desired capacity means as soon as you create the auto scaling group, how many number of instances should be there in that auto scaling group. So that is called the desired capacity. Okay, so for example, we want 2. So 2 instances will keep on running. Okay, now if number of users increase, then you can set some scaling policies in your auto scaling group. using which the number of instances can increase itself automatically and decrease also. So I mean, you get the option of scaling in also. So you can decrease the number of instances also, and that is also relevant, as I mentioned, because each instance is going to cost you something. So for example, this one EC2 instance is causing you, is costing you $2. So 2 is going to cost you 4, and then 10 will going to cost you $10. Sorry, $20. Okay, so you have to ensure that if the number of users decrease, then you have the option of terminating the instances as well, to save a lot of cost also. Okay, so all that work is being handled by our auto scaling group now. We don't have to do anything manually. So this is the main concept of auto scaling group. I hope the concept was clear to you. If you have any doubts, please reach out to me in comment section and I'm going to answer all your queries. All right. So let's talk about some theoretical terms which are mentioned on the AWS is a documentation related to auto scaling groups, and then we are going to see a demo also. So auto scaling groups ensure that you have right number of EC2 instances to handle application load. It is the collection of EC2 instances. Okay, pretty straightforward now. Now minimum number of instances, auto scaling group never goes down below this number. So when you create an auto scaling group, you get the option to choose the minimum number of instances that should be running with the auto scaling group at all times. So you can set the minimum number, the maximum number, and the desired capacity. The desired capacity is when you just create the auto scaling group, how many number of instances that should be there at that time. So all that is decided by the desired capacity of the auto scaling group. Then, as I mentioned, you can scale you can scale out or scale in the number of instances. So you can increase or decrease the number of instances using the scaling policies. So there are different scaling policies that I'm going to talk about in some other video, because it's going to take its own session. It's going to be a very long video then. So I'm going to cover auto scaling group scaling policies in one more video. Okay, where I'm going to give you the demo of each scaling policy in detail. Okay, but just understand right now that we have scaling policies that we can set with our auto scaling groups to scale out and scale in the number of instances depending on the the demand of the users or the number of users who are trying to access your application. Okay, now to create an auto scaling group, you would have to create this one more resource called launch template. You can either create a launch templates or you can either create launch configurations, but launch configurations have been discontinued now. So we have to create only launch templates, and then using these launch templates we can create our auto scaling groups. I'm going to show you the demo also. So what is the meaning of this launch template is? Launch template is the main configuration of your EC2 instance that are going to be part of the auto scaling group. For example, what will be the operating system of the EC2 instance? Okay, and what all software will be installed on that? Okay, and then what is the other configurations that you want in your EC2 instance? So all that can be configured using a launch template. So it's like a template to create one EC2 instance. Okay, so all that can be configured in this launch templates. And this launch configuration was like the earlier version of launch template, which does not which did not have all the features, but now with the launch templates we have some advanced features as well, which I'm going to talk about. Okay, so to create an auto scaling group, you have to create one launch template, and then you can use it to create your auto scaling groups. Now let's talk about some features of auto scaling groups. Features are, you can do health check monitoring of your EC2 instances. Okay, you can do capacity balancing across availability zones. As I just mentioned that you can create 3 instances in 3 different availability zones. Okay, so what it will do, it's going to balance the load across availability zones. So if one availability zone goes down, you still have other 2 availability zones where you have your instances running, and those instances can still serve some of the users, if not all. So this is the way of having a resilient way of deploying your application. Okay. So so this is called high availability feature. Okay. Also, you have the option of choosing the multiple instance types. Okay, when I say instance types, if you have watched my earlier videos also in this playlist where I have spoken about EC2 instance types and the different purchasing options. So all that is available within a single auto scaling group. So within a single auto scaling group, you can have these multiple instance types and purchasing options as well if you want to. Okay, and it can also attach to elastic load balancers. So I'm going to have one detailed video on elastic load balancers as well. So so we can attach this auto scaling group with elastic load balancers as well. And as we just spoke about, we can use scaling policies, and also we can use something called as LifeCycle hooks. So a LifeCycle hook is a way by which you can define some custom actions at the launch of the new instances or at the termination of the instances, which means that suppose you want to run a script where you want to install some packages okay, at the start of the this of your EC2 instance. So in that case, you can set a LifeCycle hook at the start at the launch of the instance. Also, sometimes when your instance is terminating, you want to store some logs. So in that case, you can set a LifeCycle hook at the instance termination, so that you can save your logs before the instance is terminated. So in this way, we can set up some custom actions at instance launch and instance termination depending on our use case. So all that is possible within your auto scaling group using the LifeCycle hooks feature. Okay, I'm going to talk about it all when I'm showing you the demo. So this is all the theoretical part I wanted to cover, and now let's see the demo. All right, so I'm logged into my AWS management console, and from here to reach the auto scaling service, auto scaling groups, it is part of EC2 service. So you can navigate to EC2 from the search box. So once you reach here, you can see the option of creating the auto scaling group from here, or on the left hand side, if you scroll to the very last, you will see the option of auto scaling groups. But as we just learned that the first thing that to create the auto scaling group is we have to create either a launch template or a launch configuration. But as I mentioned, we won't be using the launch configuration. It is a deprecated resource. So we'll be getting a launch template. So from the left hand side again, if you scroll, you can see the option of getting the launch template here in the instances section. So click on launch templates, and then you can click on this create launch template button here. Now you have to give the name. It is a required field. So let's write demo -launch template, and for description I can copy the same. I can copy the name to the description here, and auto scaling guidance. Now if you want to use this launch template with your auto scaling group, you have to check this option here. Okay, it's written here also. Select this if you intend to use this template with EC2 auto scaling, right? So that's what we want to do. So I'll just select this option here. Then under template tags, you can put a tag to the template. Let's just give it a name. It's going to be the same thing, demo, and name will be the demo launch template. And a source template is if you have another already existing template that you want to use to fill out some of the fields, so you can use you can do that, but here I don't have any, so let's just keep it blank. So now we are at the launch template contents. So here you can choose what operating system or what AMI you want to use with your instances. So once again, I've already covered what AMI is. So you can watch the earlier videos in this same playlist where I've spoken about AMI and other important details. Okay. So here you have to choose the AMI, but so just to give you some introduction into what an AMI is, if you already don't know. So an AMI is a template that contains a software configuration, your OS operating system, your application server, and applications required to launch your instance. So so basically it's like it's like the a template to create any virtual server in AWS. So when I say virtual server, I mean EC2 instance. So to create some server, to create some instance, you need some configuration, right? I mean, what will be inside that instance when you launch it, right? What kind of operating system do you want? I mean, do you want a Linux operating system? Do you want a Windows operating system? In Linux, which Linux flavor do you want? Do you want Ubuntu based operating system? Do you want a Red Hat one, or you want some other operating system? So all that is part of the template. Apart from that, if you have some additional software requirements, like you want to have an HTTPD Apache web server installed already on your machine, so you can create your own custom AMI also, which will have this HTTPD package and other details as well. I mean, it can have any number of softwares in your AMI, so you can just keep it as one of your own AMIs, and you can use it to create this launch template. And every time you launch an instance from the template, it will have all the things that you have already specified in your AMI or your Amazon machine image. So it is just a package of different software applications and their configuration, plus the main operating system configuration that you want with your EC2 instances. So that is called an AMI, Amazon machine image. Okay, so here you can choose one of your own AMIs, or you can use some of the ones which are given by AWS. So you can go to this quick start button here, and you can choose one of the given AMIs from AWS's list. So for this example, so let's just use this Amazon Linux. And in Amazon Linux, I want to use Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Okay. So I've chosen the AMI. Now I can choose the instance type. Okay, as I mentioned, you get the option to choose instance type also. So here, since we want to be part of the free tier, so let's use t2.micro. So we can use t2.micro, which is free tier eligible. So just choose it. Scroll down. Now key pair. So once again, you can create your key pair, the SSH key pair that you want to log into the instance with. So you can keep it as part of the template, or you can avoid it also. But generally you will have one key pair created already, and you're going to include it with the template. Okay, so let's see if we have any. So we already have one, this key pair name. If you don't have, you can just click on it. Let me just click another one just to show you. Just write the name. You can write demo key pair 2, and just choose all the default options. Okay, don't do anything, and just create the key pair. And then the private key will be downloaded to your machine, because when we create a key pair, we get two things. We get the public key, which is attached to the instance that you'll launch it with, and you get the private key, which is used to authenticate to the machine while logging in. So the private key is private to you, and you get the option to download it, and the public key is attached to the instance. So this key will be used when you are trying to SSH to this machine which will be launched. Okay, so it is for that. So after creating it, you can just select it from here, from the drop down, then go to this network settings, and here once again you get the option to choose a subnet of your choice. Okay. Okay, one more thing. In network settings, you can create your own VPC, your own custom VPC, and then you can create your own subnets also as part of that custom VPC, and you can choose it from here in the drop down list. But In this account, I don't have any custom VPCs. I just have the default VPC, which resides in each region in an AWS account. So, so you can use any of those. But if you just leave it blank, then it is going to assign a subnet on its own when you launch the instance. So just leave it blank here. We don't have any specific requirement. Then you can choose a security group. So security group is the firewall that controls the inbound and outbound traffic from your EC2 instances that will be launched as part of this launch template. So you get the option to choose the existing security groups if you already have here, or you can choose the default security group that resides as part of each default VPC in the region. You can choose that, or if you want, you can create your own security group and then use it from the drop-down list. Okay, so I believe I have one security group. Let's see. Yeah, so I have one security group, so I'm going to use it, demo-sg. Then you have advanced network configuration also. We don't need to do anything here. We just want to keep things simple here because there are so many options that you don't use as part of your basic learning. You can say the basic steps to create a launch template and auto-scaling group. You don't need to choose all the options, but the most important ones. So let's just keep it as default. And yeah, storage is pretty important. So storage is what type of storage and how much storage you want to be attached to your EC2 instance when you launch it from this template. Okay, so these are the default options that we get. Okay, so I'm just going to change this volume type to GP3 because it is slightly better in terms of performance and it is cheaper as well. So always try to use GP3 wherever possible. You get the option to choose the size here. So we are going to keep it default, so no need to change it. But if you have a specific requirement of storage, you can change the size of the storage here. You can choose your input output per second or IOPS from here. And also you get the option to delete on termination to be set to no or yes. So the default option is yes, which means that when you terminate the instance, the volume is also going to be deleted automatically if you choose it as yes. But if you want to retain the volume, so in that case you can choose no here from here. Okay, and if you have a requirement to encrypt the volume, so generally in production, these production servers, we're going to use all the volume which are encrypted all the time. So generally it will be encrypted, but just for this purpose, this video, I'm going to keep it as unencrypted or not encrypted, but in general, you will have all the volumes as encrypted all the time. Okay, just remember this. Then throughput also you can change if you want, if you have some specific requirement, but I just want to keep it as default here. So storage is done. Then if you want to add some additional volume also apart from the root volume, so this is the root volume where your operating system will reside. Okay, so this is the volume that's going to hold your operating system. But if you have a requirement to attach an additional volume, then you have the option to add it from here. Then resource tags, if you want to add some tags from the template itself to your resources that you're going to create. So let's just choose, for example, whatever EC2 instance you're going to create, it will have this tag as, this tag will be there from the template. So let's just use one tag here, name, and let's use demo EC2. Okay, and also you get the option to choose where to apply these tags. So just to instance, or you want to attach this same tag to the volume and to some other resources as well, like network interfaces, elastic graphics, spot instance requests, and so on. Okay, so let's just keep it as default, but you should know that you can attach this particular resource tag to multiple resources when you're creating the EC2 instance, because when you're creating the EC2 instance, you're creating other resources as well. You're creating a volume that is separate to the instance. You also have this network interface, and you have some other things as well. So you get the option to choose these different resources to be part of the tag. Next, you have advanced details. Under advanced details, I'm going to go through some of the options because it's a long list and we don't need everything. We just want to keep it simple here. So IAM instance profile is what IAM role you want to attach to your EC2 instance by default. Okay, so you can choose it. If you have a particular role that you've created, you can choose it from here. Okay, I don't think I have any role in this account, so let's just keep it as default. And hostname type. So by default, if you see any EC2 instance that is created, the default hostname will be it is based on the IP address of the instance, the private IP address. But you get the option to choose this hostname as resource name also, where if you choose it as resource name, then the instance ID will become the hostname of that instance by default. So this is the default option. If you don't choose anything, then it's going to be IP name. Okay. Then DNS hostname. Let's keep it as default here. Okay. If you want to read through it, you can just click on this information and you can go through it. Okay, you can read about this, and if you have any doubts, you can reach out to me. Okay, I'm not going to cover everything in this video, but I just want to cover the most important options here. Okay, so you can go through this documentation. Have doubts, please reach out to me. Next is instance auto recovery. Once again, some additional information. I just go through these options which I'm not covering in this video, and have any doubts, please reach out. Shutdown behavior, hibernate behavior. So if you see, there are so many options. Termination this protection. So you get the option to choose if you want to enable termination protection. So whenever someone tries to terminate it, you're going to get the warning that the termination protection is enabled on this instance. So you will not be able to delete the instance. So you get the option to choose it from here. Okay. Stop protection. Similarly, you have stop protection. If you want to enable some detailed CloudWatch monitoring, you have all the options. So all these options can be included as part of the template. So all these will be default options that will be there with your EC2 instances that you're going to launch. And in this way, there are other options as well. You can go through these. You can click on the information and you can go through these. But these options are not that important for this video, especially. So let's just leave it as default. We don't need to do anything here. Purchasing option also, I'll just keep it as default. Capacity reservation, tenancy, RAM disk, kernel ID. There are so many things. So you get the option. If you see, so all these options are part of the launch template. But when it came to this launch configuration, we did not have these many options to choose from. So this is the beauty of launch template over launch configuration, that you can choose hell lot of options as compared to launch configurations. Okay, so I'll just keep everything as default. I'll just talk about this user data here. So user data is the startup script that you want to run on your instance when the instance is launched at the startup. So you can add some scripts here. So this is like a normal bash script. So it is going to accept this shebang here. Okay, and you can use this /bin/bash because I'm using Amazon Linux. So you get this shell by default. So it's going to be /bin/bash, and then you can add some commands for your choice. For example, you want to update the packages, so you can do yum update -y. Okay. Similarly, you can do yum sudo yum install httpd -y. So you get, you get the option to run some custom commands using this user data script also on your new EC2 instances. Okay. So I'm not going to include anything in this session. I just wanted to show you that you get the option to run some startup script on all your EC2 instances that will be launched from this launch template. So just remove it, and then you can just click create launch template. So once you have this launch template ready, you can use it to create your auto scaling group, because a launch template is a requirement to be to create your auto scaling group. So let's just wait for a moment. Okay, so the launch template is ready now, right? So this is our launch template. You can check, and once again, if you want to update this launch template, then you get the option to create different versions of it as well. Okay, so since we just have this one version available, but if you want, we can create a new version also. So you can modify template, create new version, and keep one of the versions as the default versions also. Okay, so you get all these options. So you can explore all these options from here on and here on. All right, so now what we will do, let's go to autoscaling groups and then create autoscaling groups. So now you have to choose the name of the autoscaling group. It's going to be demo-ASG and launch template. So since we just have this one launch template that we just created, so we're going to choose it. And once again, you get the option to choose the different versions if you have any for your launch template. And this is the default version. We just have one version of it. So that's what we're going to choose here. And all the options are already populating here. Okay. So one more thing, I mean, as soon as you create your autoscaling group, it's going to create the instance for you. I mean, which is equal to the desired capacity of the autoscaling group, which we're going to see next. So just click on here. Okay, so these are the options that are coming from the launch template, and you get the option to override some of the options as well. So you can use this field. Network, as I mentioned, we just have this one default VPC, so we're going to choose it. But if you have your own custom VPC, you can choose the VPC from here. So I mean, this is the one that is coming default, but you get the option to change it to your this custom VPC also. Then availability zones and subnet, once again, I mean, whatever this VPC you choose here, all the subnets within that particular VPC are going to show up in the drop down list. Okay, so let's just keep it as default. Then this availability zone distribution, as I mentioned, you get two options: balanced only and balanced best effort. So let's just keep it default. And I mean, you can read through the meaning of these two options. Okay, so if you choose this, it means that it launches it. If launches fail in one availability zone, autoscaling will attempt to launch in another healthy availability zone. Okay, pretty straightforward to understand. Next. Okay, so we have to choose at least one subnet. I'm sorry about that. So let's just use the first one, US East 1A. And let's just wait for it to complete. If you remember this part, we had the option to choose it as part of our launch template also, but we did not choose it there. So we're choosing it here. Okay. So after this, just click on next. And now you get the option if you have the requirement to attach this autoscaling group to a load balancer. So you can choose it. But since we don't have any load balancer here, and as I mentioned, I'm going to cover a separate video to cover all the concepts around an application load balancer and when to use which type of load balancer, all those things I'm going to cover in a separate video. And then I'm going to show you how to attach an autoscaling group to an elastic load balancer also. So for this video, let's just keep it as default as no load balancer for now. Then this VPC latest integration options is there. So this is something new that I also haven't used. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it as default for now. Okay. And application recovery controller, again, I haven't used it as yet, so let's just keep it as default. Okay, so I mean, once again, as you know that AWS keeps making changes to their interface, to their features, to their services. So I mean, you will see some new options coming up every now and then. So this is all that. So if you have any specific requirement, just go through it and I mean, choose it if you want to. But for this video, I'm not going to change the default options. Then health checks, as I mentioned, EC2 health checks always enabled. So autoscaling group also does health checks for your EC2 instances. All right. Then I'm going to keep everything as default. Go to next. Then this is I mean, one of the most important options and one of the things that are asked in the interview also. Okay, the difference between the desired capacity, minimum capacity, and maximum capacity. As you can see, the desired capacity is set to 1, which means that as soon as I click on create autoscaling group, it is going to create one EC2 instance. The meaning of this desired capacity here is how many number of instances do you want as soon as you click, as soon as you create your auto scaling group. Then how many number of instances you want to keep at all times. So that will be your minimum desired capacity. And how many maximum number of instances you want, that will be your this maximum desired capacity. Okay. So I'm just going to keep everything as default, but you should know the meaning of these three terms, especially. This is really, asked a lot in the interviews. Okay. Then you have the option to choose the scaling policies also. But as I mentioned, I'm going to cover scaling policies in another video because it's going to be a very detailed video on all the different scaling policies and how to use them. I'm going to show you a demo also. So I'm just going to keep this option as default. Then instance maintenance policy, once again, you can go through these. It's pretty straightforward to understand. Have any doubts, please reach out to me. So I'm going to keep everything as default for now. I just want to create this auto scaling group. And additional capacity settings also default, and I'm not going to choose anything here as well, and I'm going to hit next. Then if you have a requirement to create one SNS topic for you to send out the notifications, you can do so, but it is an optional field, and we'll just keep it as default. Click on next. You can add a tag, but I don't want to do it. But yeah, but if you want, you can add some tags to your auto scaling group as well. Then click on next and just review everything and click on create auto scaling group. So as soon as I do it, I'm going to get one EC2 instance created automatically for me, since I chose the desired capacity as 1. It's going to take a moment or two. All right, so we have this auto scaling group created for us. Let's just click on it and see the details. All right, so as you can see, all the details, all the things that we chose are showing up here. And if you want to see the instance that was created, you can go to instance management. And this is the instance that has been created as part of the instance. You can click on it and it's going to open in a new tab. So this is your instance, which is part of the auto scaling group. So this is how you can create an auto scaling group and a launch template. Okay. So now if you terminate this auto scaling group, or if you delete this auto scaling group, it is going to delete the instance also with it. Remember this. So as soon as you delete the auto scaling group, the instances which were part of the auto scaling group are also going to be terminated. Okay, by default. Also, all the other options that you see here, I'm going to cover it in another video after this. Okay, the video is getting really long, so I just wanted to cover in this video how to create a launch template and auto scaling group. Okay, next will be I'm going to cover all the options that you see as part of this auto scaling group. Okay, so one by one we are going to go through all the options and understand how and when to use them. All right, so once again, if I just delete this auto scaling group from here, so actions, delete, type delete and hit delete and go to your instances section. You will see this instance will be terminated soon. So this is the default behavior of an auto scaling group. Okay, so it is shutting down. All right, so that's all I wanted to cover in this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button, please share it with your friends. And if you have any feedback for the videos, please reach out to me in the comment section, or you can mail it to me as well. All right, guys, so that's all I wanted to cover, and I'm going to see you in the next one.